All right, so you sent in Joshua Lederberg's name, and wow, talk about fascinating. This deep dive is going to be wild.
Yeah, he's really something.
I mean, you're into AI, right?
Totally.
And usually we think like Silicon Valley, right? Tech geniuses, all that.
For sure.
But Lederberg, he was so far ahead of that curve, it's almost unbelievable. Groundbreaking AI work, but get this, back in the 60s.
Wow.
And not just any scientist dabbling with computers. This guy was a Nobel Prize-winning biologist.
Yeah, not your typical AI pioneer.
Not even close. So how does that even happen? What's the connection?
It's wild, right? What's incredible is how early Lederberg saw that biology and computers, they were meant to be together.
Yeah.
Destined.
Like before it was even obvious.
Oh, way before. This is before microchips were even a thing. Like, picture the dawn of the computer age. Seriously, old school stuff. And here's Lederberg already talking about a future where computers could unlock all the secrets of life itself.
It's like he was fluent in DNA before anyone even used the word code for it. Okay, but before we get too far ahead, let's back up a bit. What was this Nobel Prize-winning biology work? Something about bacteria, right?
You got it. Lederberg revolutionized bacterial genetics. Before him, everyone thought bacteria were these simple things, just replicating themselves, no big deal.
Right, like little single-celled blobs.
Exactly. But Lederberg, he just blew everyone's minds by proving that bacteria can actually swap genes, like exchange genetic material with each other. Through this process called, get this, bacterial conjugation.
Wait, hold on. Did you just say bacterial sex?
You got it. It was huge.
Yeah.
Suddenly, these simple organisms weren't so simple anymore. They had a way to mix and match genes, creating all sorts of new possibilities. And that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, I bet that complexity is where the need for serious computational power comes in, right?
Exactly. Imagine trying to track all those genetic exchanges, understand the mechanisms at play. It's a massive amount of data. Lederberg saw that the future of biology wasn't just about test tubes and microscopes. It was about algorithms and processing power.
So did that lead him to DENDRAL?
DENDRAL, yes.
Yeah.
One of his coolest projects, for sure.
I feel like I've heard of that. Didn't it have something to do with analyzing molecules, like in chemistry?
You're right on the money. Think of those crime shows where they use mass spectrometry to figure out unknown substances.
Oh, right. Or even analyzing samples from space, like from other planets?
Exactly. That's mass spectrometry in action.
So that's where Lederberg comes in with the AI, right? He found a way to automate that whole process.
Exactly. Before DENDRAL, analyzing that data from mass spectrometry was a huge bottleneck. Expert chemists would spend ages just trying to interpret the results.
Oh, wow. I bet.
But what Lederberg did, along with his colleague Edward Feigenbaum, was basically teach a computer to think like a chemist.
Seriously? Back then?
Yeah. DENDRAL could take that raw data and actually figure out the structure of an unknown molecule, just like that.
So hold on. We're talking about a machine replicating human-level problem solving, not just crunching numbers, but actual reasoning. And this was decades ago.
You got it. DENDRAL was one of the very first expert systems. A real glimpse into the future of AI, showed everyone what was possible.
That's incredible. So DENDRAL is analyzing molecules like a pro way back then. But what kind of real-world impact did that have? Did it actually change how scientists worked?
Oh, absolutely. For one thing, it made research way faster. Scientists could suddenly handle these huge data sets, analyze information so much more efficiently.
Which makes sense, because biology was entering this whole new era of big data, especially with genetics taking off. Even sequencing a single gene back then created a ton of data.
Exactly. And Lederberg, he totally saw that data explosion coming. He understood that to really get biology, to understand how complex it is, we needed tools that could handle massive amounts of information.
So DENDRAL was like the first step towards that.
Huge step. Think about the genomic data sets we have today. Millions and millions of data points. Lederberg, he saw that coming. He knew that without some serious computational power, we'd be drowning in data, wouldn't be able to make sense of any of it.
Wow. So Lederberg's pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI, even back then. But I'm guessing it wasn't all easy, right? Weren't there some limitations with the tech at the time?
Oh, for sure. DENDRAL was groundbreaking, but it definitely had its limits. Remember, this was the era of those clunky old mainframe computers, the processing power we have today. Unimaginable back then.
Right. I mean, it's mind-blowing they could do any of this with that old tech. So how did they even manage?
A lot of ingenuity, that's for sure. But here's the thing. Those limitations, they actually ended up shaping the future of AI research in some really cool ways.
Oh, how so?
Well, because researchers had to get so creative, really squeeze every ounce of potential out of the technology. It forced them to think differently.
Huh, I never thought about it that way, but that makes sense. So how did those limitations actually change how AI developed?
Well, one of the big criticisms of DENDRAL was that it was too specialized, too rigid, amazing at analyzing molecules, but couldn't really adapt to new problems, couldn't learn from new data the way humans can.
I see. Like it's great at chess, but you try checkers and it's clueless.
Exactly. And that criticism, it pushed researchers to start thinking about more flexible AI systems. And that's where machine learning comes in.
Ah, machine learning. The AI that's basically everywhere now, right? You're saying that Lederberg's work, even with those early limitations, helped lead to that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
DENDRAL, it might have been limited, but it proved a point. It showed that machines could learn to reason like experts, at least in certain areas. It was like a proof of concept that launched a whole wave of research. People started asking, what if we could create systems that actually learn and adapt on their own, systems that don't need to be programmed for every single task?
So DENDRAL was like the seed, and machine learning grew from there.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even cooler. Remember how we talked about knowledge representation being so important for DENDRAL? That idea became even more crucial with machine learning.
Remind me, what exactly is knowledge representation again?
Basically, it's figuring out how to organize information, how to encode it so a computer can actually use it, like translating human knowledge into a language that machines can understand.
Got it. So how does that connect to machine learning?
Well, to train a machine learning algorithm, you need to feed it tons of data, right? But that data has to be structured in a way that the algorithm can actually learn from. And that's where knowledge representation comes in. It's like giving the algorithm a set of rules, a framework for understanding how all the pieces of information fit together.
That's fascinating. So even though Lederberg wasn't directly involved in developing machine learning itself, his work with DENDRAL and knowledge representation laid the groundwork for this whole massive branch of AI that we have today.
Exactly. It's all connected. And there's another side to Lederberg's work that's incredibly relevant today, maybe even more so than ever.
Yeah.
His focus on the ethical side of AI.
Oh, right. We talked about that a bit earlier. He wasn't just some tech-obsessed scientist. He was really thinking about the potential consequences of this technology. What were his biggest concerns?
One thing he worried about was that AI could actually make inequality worse, especially in healthcare.
Which is a huge issue now. We're seeing more and more AI-powered tools in medicine, but there's a real risk that not everyone will benefit equally.
Exactly. Lederberg, now he saw that coming decades ago. He was worried that AI could create this two-tiered healthcare system. The wealthy would have access to the latest AI treatments and diagnostics, while everyone else would get left behind.
Wow. He was sounding the alarm about something that's even more of an issue today. What else was he thinking about?
Data privacy was another big one, especially when it comes to genetic information, which is about as personal as it gets. Lederberg understood that the more data we collect, the more crucial it is to make sure it's not misused.
And that's even more true with AI, since these systems need so much data to function. Did Lederberg have any ideas about how to deal with these ethical challenges?
He was a big believer in developing ethical frameworks alongside any kind of technological advancement. He felt strongly that scientists and engineers, they have a responsibility to think about the potential consequences of their work, to have open public conversations about these issues.
So not just focusing on what we can do with AI, but also on what we should do.
Exactly. It's about using this powerful technology responsibly.
A powerful message for sure. It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, how far AI has come since those early days, like DENDRAL running on those ancient computers.
I know, right? And it's crazy to think those limitations back then, they actually pushed the field forward in a way.
Oh, totally. Like necessity breeds invention, right? When you've got constraints, you're forced to get creative.
For sure. And speaking of creative, Lederberg, his whole way of thinking, it was so different. He wasn't just a biologist. He wasn't just a computer scientist. He was this amazing combination of both.
Right, like a true visionary. He was connecting those dots that most people didn't even see.
Exactly. He really got that. The biggest breakthroughs, the really exciting stuff, it happens when you blend different fields together.
And we see that all the time now, right? The lines are blurring between different areas of science, and it's leading to some seriously cool stuff.
Absolutely. Think about personalized medicine, for example. That's like the perfect example of what happens when you take biological insights and combine them with these cutting-edge computational tools.
And that's something Lederberg was talking about decades ago. This whole idea of using AI to really understand individual patients at a deeper level.
Oh, he was way ahead of the curve on that. He saw the potential of AI to not just treat diseases, but to actually predict them, maybe even prevent them altogether.
Mhm.
And now we're seeing that start to happen.
It's like he was looking into a crystal ball, seeing all these possibilities, both the amazing and the potentially scary.
And that's what made him such an important figure, right? He wasn't afraid to ask those tough questions, to really consider what this technology could mean for us, even if it was uncomfortable.
Yeah, he didn't shy away from that responsibility that comes with scientific progress. That's something that's really stuck with me.
It's a crucial lesson, and honestly, it's more relevant now than ever. As AI gets more and more powerful, we have to keep those ethical considerations front and center.
Because at the end of the day, technology is a tool. And it's up to us to use it wisely to make sure it actually benefits humanity as a whole.
Well said. Couldn't agree more.
Well, on that note, I think we've done a pretty deep dive into the amazing world of Joshua Lederberg. From those tiny bacteria to artificial intelligence, from Nobel Prizes to thinking about the ethics of it all. What a journey.
It really has been. You know, the biggest takeaway for me, it's got to be that importance of thinking across disciplines, being open to new ideas, new collaborations, even if they seem a little strange at first.
Because you never know, right? The most groundbreaking discoveries, they often happen when we step outside our comfort zones, when we dare to bridge those gaps between different fields.
Exactly. And as we keep pushing those boundaries of science and technology, I think Lederberg's legacy, it'll keep inspiring us to think bigger, to question everything, and to never stop asking what if.
Love it. So, to everyone listening out there, what seemingly impossible challenge are you going to tackle today? What boundaries are you going to push? What connections are you going to make?
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.